How
Oh,
do
I can
you
see why
renew
that would be
interest
better.
in your dead game that won't be releasing any new online content? You cross over with another one of your franchises that's dead, of course.
Nice.
As a quick recap, Battlefield 2042's final season is coming to an end, as DICE has announced it is moving on to whatever is coming next for the franchise. For the penultimate week of its
Okay.
final season, they announced a crossover with Dead Space for a time-limited PvE game mode called Outbreak, where you fight waves of zombies to make it to the end of the level and extract. Now the important part. Why is this odd? Two well-known franchises from the same publisher doing a crossover isn't that unusual. It becomes odd when we look at these two franchises separately, however. On one hand, you have the Battlefield
Oh
franchise.
dear.
Battlefield 2042 had a disastrous launch in 2021, and up until now has spent its online seasons adding content that should have been present at launch. Things like classes, manually creating and moving squads, completely redesigning all of its maps so that, they worked. It was announced that its latest season, Season 7 Turning Point, will be its last season, with no new content planned as teams moved on to the future of the franchise.
Alright, guys.
On the other hand, you have the Dead Space franchise. The horror remake, developed by EA Motive, was released in early 2023 and was well received by fans and critics. However, lackluster sales has meant that a continuation of the franchise is once again uncertain.
Everyone's
There were
down.
rumors that a sequel was planned but shelved because of the remake's poor sales, but EA refuted this claim. Bloomberg, however, did confirm it was something more in the middle. Some concepts were being explored, but nothing had ever been officially greenlit. So the question naturally asked is, who is this for? Both games have dedicated fans still playing, myself included, but it feels like EA has all but moved on from both of them. They never even supported their PvPvE mode in Battlefield 2042. I had to Google it to even remember what it was called. It's Hazard Zone. It's also July. Why would they release a horror theme mode now? So strange. In the end, the real answer is probably something boring like developers from EA Motive are now also working on Battlefield and they needed to fill out the last few weeks of the final season. It does make you wonder what could have been if DICE was given the opportunity to continue to support Hazard Zone, or if they were given the time to actually finish Battlefield 2042 before it launched. I've never been a big fan of PvPvE modes, or games like Tarkov or DMZ in Call of Duty, but I also wasn't a fan of Battle Royale games either until they added one to Battlefield 5, and I gave it a go. I think more developers should be encouraged to put their own spin on successful ideas, but really EA not supporting Hazard Zone I think is endemic of a larger problem. Battlefield lacks its own individual identity, and in 2042 you can see the Frankenstein parts of other games that were transplanted, instead of being adapted in a way that would be uniquely Battlefield. It's times like this where you wind up stopping and remembering how EA poorly supports some of its most well-known franchises rather than just focusing on a fun new game mode as I'm sure they intended. As for the mode itself, it wasn't terrible. I thought there was a nice combination of wave-based survival mixed with Battlefield's capturing points to keep pushing forward, an interesting mix of what you would expect from a hastily put together zombie survival mode, but with a little Battlefield twist. Later waves are genuinely difficult and teamwork is required to succeed. It was a genuinely interesting crossover, but just with the most bizarre timing. There's a full playthrough on my channel if you want to see more. Anyway, I don't know how to write conclusions, so if you thought this was mildly interesting, please subscribe and I will continue ranting.
Get in here.